I'd hate to say it, but if you can't transpose, you're probably learning music on hard mode. A lot of people think that transposing is an advanced skill that you can put off for a while, but the skills that you're going to gain by learning how to transpose are going to enable you to learn songs 10 times faster, way faster than you could ever think of learning songs now. In fact, there are gigs where I have learned the entire set list on the way to the gig. No sheet music, no charts, just listening and using the skills that I've learned learning how to transpose and taking it so I can learn songs faster. So if you want that level of fluency and freedom when it comes to learning songs, this video is for you. A while back, one of my students came to me and asked if I could help him transpose this song, All the Things You Are, into a different key. And he showed me this. He sent this file to me, and I took a look at it, and there is something wrong with this. And that is that he used the least efficient way to transpose. Basically what he did is he took every chord. Now this first chord is usually F minor 7, and he took every single chord and put it up a step. So, take the original chord, you bring the first chord up a step from the key of A flat to B flat, and he continued doing this through the entire lead sheet. Now, what's the problem with that? This is actually where a lot of people start when they're transposing, and it's fine to have a starting point, but this is definitely the least effective method to transposing. And it's very much the way that a lot of people think about transposing. We take each chord or we take each melody note and we're going to shift it to a new place. And the main problem with this approach is even though you may be able to transpose one song with this method, just shifting each chord, you're not going to be able to build long-term fluency. You're not going to get faster as you do it. You're just going to stay as if you're having to relearn every chart. And even every time you transpose, it feels like you're relearning a song. So what my student needed was not more rewriting. He needed a new way of thinking about transposition. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So the way that I recommend you starting out transposing is not that first way, changing every chord, but by thinking of songs in terms of function. So this song that we're going to work on, All the Things You Are, you may have heard of it before, right? We need to think about this song in terms of function. And that may be new to you, but in any key, and this song happens to be in the key of A flat, each key has chords that can be given a number. So, the A flat chord in the key of A flat is 1, B flat minor is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. And so if I were going through this song and I wanted to really understand the function or the way that each chord plays within the key, I would start to label these chords as having that function. So F minor 7 in the key of A flat is a 6, and typically we'll use Roman numerals, but you don't have to. You can just do the number system. There's another system that we won't go over in this video called the Nashville number system that just uses normal numbers, but usually I'm going to be using Roman numerals here. So we have the 6 chord in A flat, we have the 2 chord, we have a 5 chord, and we have a 1 chord. And how did I figure that out? Well, if you practice a scale, just an A flat scale, you'll notice that the roots of those notes or those chords were in the scale. So we have F, right? F is the 6th note of A flat, and we can check to see, are all of these other notes in F minor 7, are they in the key of A flat? Well, yes, they are. So you can go through that way and just see that each chord is within the key. So we have 6, 2, 5, 1, and then 4. And then we start to see, oh shoot, G7 is not in this key. It's in a different key, right? And so we need to figure out what key it's going to. And for this one, it's actually easier just to think, well, there's a few different ways you can do it, but I usually think when I'm playing this tune that I'm going to go up a tritone from the 4 chord to the next chord. So now we're thinking not just in terms of function, but in terms of relation from chord to chord. We've got the 5 of, And in this case, we have C major, which would be kind of like the 3 chord in the key of A flat. So if I'm in A flat, I know I'm going to C major, which is a third above A flat. So if I were going to transpose this, and this is probably a more difficult example, there are probably some easier ones that we could do, but if I were going to take this and do it in the key of, let's say, G major, I could take these same Roman numerals and just go 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, and then I'm going to use a few different methods here. I would go up a tritone to a dominant chord, F sharp 7, and then to C major 7. I didn't even realize until I played through it that I actually chose a key that was a half step down. Let me pick a different key. Let's do E flat. So I'm going to start on the 6th chord, C minor 7, 2, 5, 1, 4, and then I'm going to move by a tritone to D7, and then going to G major. So I started in E flat major, passed through E flat major, and then I went to G major. So this is one of the ways to work on transposition that is really effective when you're getting started. And I definitely recommend using this method over just changing every chord and trying to move it into the new key. And once I showed this to my student and he started to see how he could see sections of tunes as existing in a key and how he can understand the function of each chord so he can easily move from key to key, it was easy for him to see how he could transpose. Now, we didn't all of a sudden tackle it on All the Things You Are because this is a much more difficult tune, but I would definitely recommend taking some easier tunes such as Fly Me to the Moon or Autumn Leaves and working that into several different keys using this method. So just seeing the function within the key and then transposing from there. So just by making the shift from going from thinking from chord to chord to seeing function within a key is already going to help you learn songs so much faster. But the next method that I'm going to show you is going to make it so that you can learn songs way faster than you ever thought possible. But first, if you are enjoying this and you want to support the channel, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe so that more people will be able to find out about this channel. I have a ton of content that I love to be able to make for you, but I would love if I could get that support so that the channel can grow and so that I can keep making videos like this for you. I have a ton of topic deep dives, breakdowns, and gig stories that I would love to share with you. And speaking of gig stories, one of my first gigs that I played in Dallas, which is where I live, was with a vocalist named Judy Chamberlain. Now, Judy is a fantastic vocalist, and she has been singing for many years and has an insane repertoire. I think on her website it says that she knows like 4,000 songs, and I probably wouldn't doubt that. And when I played with her, a lot of times she wouldn't have a set list. She would just pick songs and we would start playing them on the spot. And so eventually I was able to get her to send me set lists, beforehand, and sometimes it would just be on the day of the gig. But I would often have to learn these songs on the way to the gig. And so how did I do that? I wasn't really thinking how we just talked about with function and seeing a lead sheet and being able to analyze it. When I was on the way to the gigs, would just sing the songs along with the recording. So it may have been Sinatra, or it may have been Ella Fitzgerald, right? I'm singing the lyrics, I'm singing the melodies of the songs, and then I'm using my knowledge of music theory and the function that we talked to learn songs by function. I would use it along with my ability to know that melody by ear to sort of piece together the song on my way to the gig. And because I don't have perfect pitch, I would usually on the way to the gig, I would just choose a key that I thought it might be in, but all the while I'd be thinking in terms of function. And learning in this way trained my brain to think about learning songs completely different than I had ever done before. Not only did this experience working with Judy make it so that my transposition got way better, I started being able to transpose on the spot, being able to change keys on the spot when I was working with different vocalists. It made it so that I could learn songs faster. I just started seeing songs in a completely different way than I had ever seen before. So let's take another look at all the things you are and figure out how would I use this method to understand the melody and to transpose. So of course, this method is more a by ear method than it is just like looking at a lead sheet. So the first thing that I would recommend is not just like looking at a lead sheet and trying to learn the melody, but instead I would find some great recordings and get to the point where you can at the very least hum the melody along to the recording. First I would listen with the recording, and then I would turn the recording off and see, can I sing the melody from beginning to end. And then after that, after I had the melody, I would say, okay, well, where are the bass notes in relation to the melody? And this is where that knowledge of theory and harmony starts to come into play. In your first few songs, you may just do step 3, which is, learning from the melody, and then add in step 2 of understanding the chords and the function, and that's totally fine. But in this case, of all the things you are, the melody is almost always on the third of the chord. So the A flat is the third of F minor, the D flat is the third of the B flat minor chord, G is the third of E flat 7, C is the third of A flat major 7. So almost all the way through this song, the melody is usually focused on the third of the chord. And so that can be a great anchor point as you're learning a song like this. And in any song that you're learning, first you learn how to hum the song, and then we start to figure out, okay, what's the relationship between the melody and the chords, and then we can start to put that together. And the first time that you do this, it may feel like it's a lot harder, but over time, I would say just 5 songs learning in this way, first learning the melody, and then learning the function of the chords underneath, you will eventually be able to do what I do now, which is just starting on the melody. Basically, I'll just pick a melody, I wasn't planning on doing it in that key, but and I wasn't even sure. I guess I was in the key of D, right? But I really was just thinking of the first melody note. Right? And letting my ears guide the melody. And then have my knowledge of the chords inform what the chords I would be able to play under that. And frankly, this is how I approach learning songs today. I always try to start with the melody, and then I use my knowledge of the chords to inform that. But if you're getting started, I definitely would recommend, going steps 1, 2, 3. So the first step was just to take each chord and to transpose it. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing an entire song like this, but simple progressions like a 2-5-1, that's important to know in several keys. And then step 2 was start to learn whole songs and start to understand the function of all of the chords in the song. And then finally, once you feel like you are understanding songs much better, that you could, if you had to, take a simple song and see the function in the song and transpose. Once you get to that point, then I would recommend switching to the melody and very much focusing on the melody when you transpose. It's going to be a much more musical way of thinking about the song, and you'll find that you're able to learn songs 10, 20 times faster than you could beforehand. And even if you don't think that transposing is something that you do on a day-to-day basis that needs to be part of your day-to-day life, the skills, once again, the skills that you learn in learning how to transpose are going to permeate into every part of your musical life and help you be able to learn music so much more quickly and easily, so that you can learn songs that you like, so that you can learn more difficult songs without them being overwhelming to you. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to check out another one of my videos, I did a deep dive on a Bill Evans trio classic, Glorious Step, and I'll show you how to comp over this tune, how to improvise over it, even if it's a tune that kind of defies normal jazz harmony fundamentals. So definitely check that out if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.